Alright, so earlier in the month of February, Matthew Vaughn made a new film titled Argyle. I have a review up on my channel. You all can go check that out. And so today, I'm going to rank all 8 Matthew Vaughn films from my least favorite to my favorite. And I say it like that because Matthew Vaughn is a director that I personally adore. I don't think he made a single awful movie. His lowest movie is 3 stars to me. That's how good of a director I think he is. He makes movies that cater to me and kind of action style I like with the great cast that I like. And so all of these movies are just entertaining and watchable in some way or another. But I do still have to rank them. So with that said, please make sure to subscribe, the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what is your ranking of Matthew Vaughn's films. And with that said, number 8 is The King's Man. This is a prequel to the Kingsman series, like this one, The Kingsman, The Golden Circle. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's a prequel to those, starring Ralph Fiennes and so many other people. And for me, it's last place because I feel the first hour of this 2-hour and 10-minute movie is almost nonsensical nonsense in a way. I didn't keep track with any of it. It didn't make any sense. It felt like, to me, that they were just missing scenes. Like, scenes were just missing from the movie. And it's just like, yeah, but you got a war going, and there's a guy doing the war, and it never explains it fully well, to where I'm sitting back, I'm like, this makes no sense. So, okay, when we get into the last hour and 10 minutes of the movie, it's a blast. I mean, from the sequence at No Man's Land, which I personally think rivals the church scene from the first Kingsman and how great it is, to the very end of the movie, it's just full-on entertaining with great action sequences and stuff that I like from these movies. And the death of the son was something that I didn't expect. Like, that death stuck with me for a few days because it's something I didn't expect. The moment it happened, I was like, whoa, they went somewhere. Kind of like the first Kingsman movie with the death of Harry. Something that Matthew Vaughn does so well is just killing off his characters, and you don't expect it. And that's what they did here, to where that it really kind of turned the movie around for me, and it was really cool. I didn't necessarily adore the plot about the dad and the son, and I'm not wanting him to go off to the military, because it kind of just rehashed it all the time. It was basically just, yeah, Dad, I'm going to the military. No, son, you're not, because I love you. Yeah, Dad, I am. And it did that for a whole hour and a half, and I was like, whoa, okay, I'm over it. And the first action sequence with Sebastian, or whatever his name is, Rasputin, that's his name, it really was just awkward and weird, and Matthew Vaughn really needed to be put back on a leash with the company after this one. But when we get to the last hour and 10 minutes, it's a whole bunch of entertaining, but that first hour was just really hard to get through, and that's why it's in last place. 7th place, another Kingsman movie, Kingsman, The Golden Circle. This is a very entertaining movie plagued by bad ideas. What I mean by bad ideas is the first movie killed off Harry, which is something that made that first movie so good, is because you didn't expect that. It's kind of just like a twist. And you're like, whoa, okay, they actually did that. And in this movie, they find a way to bring Harry back, and in that, every time someone gets shot in the face, they find a way to bring him back. That eliminates all stakes, and I could forgive that if bringing back Harry was excusable, which it was not. They brought back Harry just to be like, oh, I know Pedro Pascal's a villain, which spoils the twist that would have been awesome later on. But then, yeah, he just does that, and then he's just kind of a cranky old man that's obsessed with butterflies. It's not excusable for this awesome character to be acting like this after he's brought back from the dead. Also, a couple other bad ideas, and really, again, Matthew Vaughn needed to be put back on a leash and kind of toned down a little bit. But overall, this movie is just really entertaining. Every scene with Pedro Pascal, and he steals the show with fantastic action sequences. You love these characters that we established in the first movie, so that was also great. The finale sequence at the little island is phenomenal. The action is just so fun. The characters are so vibrant and funny. The jokes land again. I just really wish that Matthew Vaughn was put on a leash and really did not bring Harry back, because it kind of just ruined the movie just a little bit for me, but I still think it's a very fun movie. Next up, at 6th place, is Kick-Ass. This is a movie about a guy named Kick-Ass. And for me, I'm not really the biggest fan of comedies. It's not really my type. Superhero comedies like this one aren't really my type. Superhero comedies like Deadpool are totally my type. But this one, not really it, because I feel like James Gunn's Super kind of ruined that one for me, where it was just like constant sex jokes and was like, well, okay, yeah, that's too much. And I was feared that this one going into this one was like that, and it wasn't, because surprisingly, it was surprisingly pretty good. It wasn't great. It didn't really show Matthew Vaughn until like that last half hour with the Matthew Vaughn action sequences, and so that kind of made it just a tiny bit boring in a way, if that makes any sense, to where I was kind of like, yeah, this is a movie about a guy named Kick-Ass, but he doesn't kick any ass. Like, that was kind of disappointing. But for me, I feel like he does a lot of things right, specifically with the characters. Something Matthew Vaughn can do with Kick-Ass, Stardust, and Argyle is do romance really well, where he makes you care about the characters and the couple that he's establishing. And so, when we get this character, he's just a nerdy guy. He likes comic books, pretty much like a lot of people that watch this movie. And so when he gets a girl, that's something that's relatable to a lot of people, and it so forth makes the character more likable, and played great by Aaron Taylor Johnson, which I cannot believe that's Aaron Taylor Johnson. This is Aaron Taylor Johnson compared to this is Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's crazy. But it's really just, he has a great character arc, and I really like that. The movie can also make you laugh. It's pretty funny, and the last half hour is just so fun with like that final action sequence. It's very fun. The problem, like I said, the movie's named Kick-Ass, and the main character never really kicks any ass. Like, the majority of the characters do all the butt kicking for him, and it just wasn't as entertaining as I'd like it to be. And as much as I like the character, I just kind of wish there was more action sequences, and that would make him be better. So, not the most entertaining movie, but I do think Matthew Vaughn does this one really well. Kicking off our top 5 is Stardust. And I did not want to watch this movie whatsoever. It's not my type of movie. The stuff about witches and warlocks and all that is not my thing. And the first hour was kind of like that. It has its own individual sequences that are absolutely fun to watch and were an absolute blast, but it also has the individual sequences that just kind of bored me and weren't really there. But once we got past that first hour and we continued to the second hour, it's just more of those fun sequences to where it's a feel-good movie with all these fun, vibrant sequences that, for a fantasy film and for Matthew Vaughn's second film, really prove that Matthew Vaughn is still a good director with this style. He brings his style to this, and in turn makes it entertaining. Again, Matthew Vaughn's very good about creating romance, and so the opening romance with, surprisingly, Charlie Cox and the girl is like, oh, this doesn't work. He's basically just simping for her. But when he goes to the star and, you know, they establish a romance, it gets good, you know? It gets to where you're rooting for them, and you like it. So, a movie that I just was not looking forward to managed to have all these fun, vibrant sequences that have Matthew Vaughn's flair with really likable characters as well. Like I said, that first hour also had some sequences that made me be like, yeah, I just want to get this over with. It's not a movie I want to watch. Stuff about witches and all that, not really my thing. But it kind of smoothed it out along the way to where it's a movie that, something that I would never have been entertained before. And Matthew Vaughn, he puts an distinct flair on it and makes it entertaining and therefore worth watching. And so I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Number 4 is Argyle, the latest film. And this is a movie that the first half of it really for me was just like, oh, okay, this could be better. It's entertaining, but it's not Matthew Vaughn. It's not what I expect from the Matthew Vaughn director. And all of a sudden, we get to a part where the twists start happening. And Matthew Vaughn really shows up. Like, most people are saying Matthew Vaughn needed to be put back on that leash. For me, I feel like all the twists and the action sequence at the end of the movie, the last hour and a half maybe of the movie, is insanely fun. To where every twist and turn adds something new to me. For me, this movie was not like, oh wow, another twist. Wow, that's ruining the movie. everything about it makes sense and adds on top of each other, to where also you get these action sequences in the end. You get the one with the colors like you see in the trailer, and then you get one with that involves oil and skating, which is phenomenal action sequence. And again, Matthew Vaughn directs romance very well. So once these two characters establish a romance, you're rooting for them, and in turn makes the characters more likable. And on top of that, you got a top tier cast with Bryce Dallas Howard. Personally, I don't like her, but I think she was great in this movie. Henry Cavill, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, John Cena. All these people are in the movie, and all the characters are just likable and fun. And for Matthew Vaughn to have a brand new world and have to establish all this and bring on more franchise to establish this, I really enjoy this, and I'm really happy that this will be his next franchise. Kicking off our top 3 is X-Men First Class. First time I watched this one, it's the only one I've rewatched twice, or I've watched twice. And the first time I watched this, I was like, okay, yeah, that was fine. I'm not really an origin story fan, but it's a 3.5-star movie. This time, I just realized it's such a respectful sequel inside the X-Men universe. It's just so respectful to the other franchise, to where this is, I believe, the 5th movie, because X-Men Origins, we don't talk about that one, but it's so respectful to the first 3, to where you're watching this and you're like, all of this lines up with that first trilogy. None of this adds its own. It keeps in the same continuity that makes sense, while also just being the Matthew Vaughn flair that's entertaining. And I really just liked that about it. It was so respectful and kind of made me, okay, yeah, I'm kind of digging this. Also with that kind of spy thriller vibe from the 1940s with the Cold War. All that was really cool with the establishing the X-Men, again, which makes sense. And the X-Men here are pretty cool, to where even you get to the end, and this bromance here between James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, who's also great. When you get the Michael Fassbender and he turns into Magneto, you feel that. You're like, whoa. Because again, Matthew Vaughn's really good at establishing characters, and so the character arc through the whole movie just makes sense and establishes, again, what we have established in the first 3 X-Men movies that works very well as a Matthew Vaughn movie. And it's just really entertaining, to where it's an entertaining X-Men movie that Matthew Vaughn can just come in this franchise and then just make it. And he just makes a movie that fits right in. And it is a blast. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. The only thing I'd say I don't really like is I don't really like how James McAvoy's Professor X loses his legs. It's just kind of an afterthought, like, oh, I can't walk. And it's kind of cheesy to me. At that very last end, I was like, oh, okay. Not really a big fan of that. But for the most part, this movie was really good. Second place, Matthew Vaughn's first movie, which is technically kind of a Guy Ritchie movie. It's called Layer Cake. And Guy Ritchie was initially supposed to direct this. He didn't want to direct this, but they still wanted to make the movie. So Matthew Vaughn, who produced a lot of Guy Ritchie's movies, decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go direct this movie. And so there he is. He's directing this movie. And I think it's got that distinct Guy Ritchie flair, just a little bit of Matthew Vaughn flair. As this is Matthew Vaughn's first film, obviously he's got to establish what kind of a director he is. Typically, when you see people's first films, they're kind of more laced by the studio and what the studio wants, mainly. And so going into this, clearly Guy Ritchie was supposed to direct this, so it obviously has all of his flair and all of the stuff that Guy Ritchie movies are famous for. Intriguing characters, wacky scenarios, just nice storytelling. But instead of just being about Guy Ritchie, it makes it feel more like a Matthew Vaughn film, as Matthew Vaughn takes out the crazy humor that Guy Ritchie puts in. So it's not only kind of like Guy Ritchie, but it's less humorous, and it tells a serious story about it, and I think it really works. And the thing that works about this one most is the cast. Daniel Craig is in this. This is the movie that landed him the role as James Bond, I believe. Freaking phenomenal. He is hands down amazing. His best performance, better than Bond. I think it's amazing. The rest of the cast is phenomenal. The story kind of, again, is reminiscent of Guy Ritchie, as it is multiple stories, as you get the story about the the guy coming after them after they stole the pills, and then get you a story about trying to find the daughter of this and all that, the precautions of that. And it certainly doesn't have like a clear narrative to where you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't all connecting as well as it should. But it's just a fun movie to watch all these lively cast members and fantastic cast just go at it. It's entertaining, it's enjoyable, and it's fun. And as a Matthew Vaughn entry film, I think he did a pretty dang great job. But easily in first place for me is Kingsman, not the Golden Circle, that's that one right there. Kingsman, the Secret Service. This movie is awesome, to say the least. It's a spy thriller that starts out and you're exploring this character who is training to be a spy. And typically, I'm not a fan of movies with training sequences. It's just not my type of thing, where you have like just this long sequence and montage of them just training. It's not my thing, but this movie does it really well and in a unique style. And the action here is just really cool. When we get into the actual middle of the movie and the ending, it's really, really good as well. Because what the movie can do is subvert your expectations somewhere and then completely flip them around and go a different direction. And it's creative. It feels like so much creative talent was put on display in this movie, because of course you have the church sequence, which is absolutely awesome with amazing action. It is beautiful and stunning to watch. Then you got the finale where you got people with heads exploding, but it's like flowers and stuff. It's so creative and interesting and just really cool to look at, to where it's a creative spy movie. It does something fresh and unique with the genre, while also just having the Matthew Vaughn flair that you want. And when they kill off Harry, you're just like, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. Matthew Vaughn makes a movie that is just subverts all my expectations, takes them every which way, and one of the most creative movies I have ever seen, and it's so fun. And that's why it is my favorite film from Matthew Vaughn. Alright, so let me know down below what is your ranking of Matthew Vaughn's film. I'm going to Florida in, I don't know, like 12 hours. I'm going to Florida, and so I'm going to film a couple more videos, edit those also. So yeah, thank you guys for clicking on this video. Let me know down below with your ranking of Matthew Vaughn. Make sure to hit the bell and all that. Like the video as well, please. And with that said, subscribe, join the Nerd Army. Peace out.